then it was whether we could... Because Sunderland didn't just sit deep and just go, right, you're right. They actually pressed. They came to press us. And I was getting a bit frustrated because I wanted Havertz and Jesus to change over because we needed to go longer a little bit quicker. Do you know what I mean? And then we wasn't. We was sort of a little bit slow in our build-up. But then when Zubimendi scores, which is like a weldy, do you know what I mean? When he just like cuts it and then it goes off the post and then it's like, all right, just get him 1-0 up at half-time and then we see where it goes. So, it's just chalking it off because Sunderland are decent.
Yeah, they always look better off the post as well, don't they? CJ, for you, Perry kind of puts it in a really nice way there, just chalking off the games. These games, especially at Emirates Stadium, I know Man United beat us there, and for me, that's a massive blip. But I look at it like these games, we've got to make sure we win these home games and, do what we're doing.
It always builds confidence winning at home. Our home record is quite good. Unfortunately, we lost to Man United, which I'm sure in your WhatsApp groups you heard the banter and whatnot. But we reacted quickly. Now, going into the Sunderland game, obviously, Sunderland are a great side. They actually came to play football. They're difficult to break down and things of that ilk. And I think we did well, man. As Perry said, it's always nice to see a wonder goal. That kind of calms down the nerves. Gyökeres off the bench. Obviously, his name is always being spoken about. Lovely to see him score. Martinelli also did well. It's just about chalking them off. Like, obviously, we walked into the week knowing we've got a 6-point gap. We've handled business. We've left the weekend the same way we walked into it. So just keep going, man. Just keep putting points on the board.
Well, let's talk about Victor Gyökeres then. And Perry, I think I saw a stat floating around that no player has scored more goals in 2026 than Victor Gyökeres. And it feels like there's still this massive kind of doubt around him amongst the football community and Arsenal fans, to be honest. But how do you think he got on, and how do you see him kicking on for the rest of the season?
Well, I've been chairman of Gyökeres' fan club since he came, and there's been a lot of negativity from a lot of ex-players, ex-centre forwards, and I just said he needed time to settle in. He was Sporting Lisbon's main man, so he sort of ruled the roost in there and he told players what he wanted. You come to you're a different level, and you're judged on a different level. And you said about the stat there. The other one is, in his first 32 games for Arsenal, he scored more goals than Thierry Henry did and more goals than Dennis Bergkamp did. Wow. One was 11, one was 10. And if you remember when they first came, especially Henry, the press was on him. Even the fans were on him. I remember Pires when he first came, the first 9-10 games, the fans weren't having him. But you've got to go with what your eyes are telling you. And with Gyökeres, he had to get used to the way that because Arteta is very controlled in the way that we play, and you have to take in a lot of information. But also, because he wasn't feeling confident, he wasn't demanding from his teammates. When he's Sporting Lisbon, he'd be saying to midfield players, "Oi, get it in the channels lively, get it up to me, wingers in the wide areas, get the ball in the box." But because he hasn't got that stature and he's just grown into it, and I saw a different body language when he came on. I saw someone who looked an inch or 2 inches a little bit taller. A couple of times it came into him, he backed in and he held it up really well, and he linked up the play. And the 2 goals that he got are typical Gyökeres goals, because the first one is good build-up play, Trossard into Havertz and as he's fallen over, he sort of sweeps it in. And the second one is, he sees Martinelli go through and he's like, "Oh, I'm centre forward. I want to," and people say it's a tap in, but you have to be in the right position at the right time. So I know that he can only get better, and he's our top scorer. He's got 13 goals. He said there he's top scorer in 2026. So he's only the only thing he can only improve, and he gives us a miles different outlet. Yeah. Exactly what he did when he came on. So about going long. When he came on, then we could go long and we get in the channels, and then Sunderland then sit a little bit deeper.
How key do you both think, and CJ, I'll come to you first on this, just how key do you think Kai Havertz is in this emergence of form for Victor Gyökeres? Because we've seen them play together a couple of times now. Havertz is playing just behind, because there was a lot of talk about, Havertz playing up front. Will he get in the team ahead of Victor Gyökeres? But a lot of the time he's playing behind now. Do you think he's key to Gyökeres' success for the rest of the season?
They both love playing together, Kai Havertz and Gyökeres. They're a bit similar in that, they're physical, they can go long. It's like when one drops, the other one kind of clocks the other one's game to go long. I personally think we've needed a bit of a switch up. I know Martin Odegaard's had a knock and been injured, but I do think we need to be a bit more unpredictable. And I do think we're getting into that season when if players are in a purple patch or players do look confident, simply put, you've got to get them in the side, man. And I think Perry's right in that you can see Gyökeres every game, he's getting more and more demanding of his teammates. He's accepted now, OK, I'm an Arsenal footballer. Obviously, he's not silly. He knows how difficult it is to represent this massive club. But I guess only unless you've walked into those shoes, especially in the present day with social media and the clamour for a striker, you could understand that. For me, I think the spark happened against Inter Milan because it sounds silly, but it's even the way he's celebrating the goals. And, when he scored against Inter Milan, it was like a weight lifted off his shoulders. So long may it continue. And I just hope that the same negatives that were said about the man, you give him the same energy because he deserves all the plaudits. He should be one of the first names on the team sheet, Nick.
Do you know what happens is where players are judged differently. All Arsenal fans and the media are having Kai Havertz because they know that he's a very good footballer. Do you know what I mean? He scored a winning goal in Champions League final, gets it, whatever. He missed a sitter in the first minute with his header against Sunderland, right? If that was Gyökeres, he'd have been getting absolutely
so many different angles of that,
wouldn't he? He'd have been absolutely slaughtered. But you look at that and you go, and even Kai Havertz is really good in the air, and he missed it, and it is a sitter, right? You go, he's going to bring other things to the game. Say, Gyökeres would have got absolutely slaughtered, absolutely hammered, and he's like, actually, maybe what he needs now is the narrative is he's scoring goals against teams that are promoted or like in the middle tier, or whatever. He needs a big goal, do you know what I mean, in a big game. And then that will just, again, quieten the noise down a bit.
North London derby on the horizon. I mean,
no, I said big game.
Yeah, of course. You did say small teams scoring against. Yeah, fair enough. It's interesting what you say, actually, Perry, because you've played with some legendary Arsenal strikers. And, when you talk about them demanding the ball from the midfielders, we didn't necessarily see that from Victor Gyökeres. What do you think's changed? Do you think Arteta has had a word with him? Do you think maybe he's had a word, Victor Gyökeres has had a word with the midfielders? What do you think, potentially, without being in the dressing room, what do you think has happened?
I think there was another turning point was the penalty up at Everton. Because I know people say it's just a penalty, but Man City had won before that. We had to beat Everton. And everybody's got that, and it's Odegaard giving Gyökeres, and actually the captain and all the players going, there you go, mate, we trust you. Do you know what I mean? We trust you, but he smashed it down the middle of the goal. People think that's easy. Trust me,
it's not.
Because again, could you imagine if he'd have missed it?
Takes nerve.
Like the partner. We had a bit of history of that before. Remember when we give it to Kai Havertz? But that was at Bournemouth, and you're 3-0 up. And it was like, we need you to score because we need you to give confidence. So it's just been a slow sort of build-up to getting his confidence back. And I played with... The level you're judged at as a centre forward is even more scrutinous now because of all the stat. Like now, if you're a midfield player and you have a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 game, it's all right. If you're Gyökeres and you bring players into the game but you don't score for 2 or 3, that is the main stat, isn't it? So that's how you're judged. And Alan Smith came and he didn't score for his first 3 games. And in all the papers, it was Smudge is a waste of money, Arsenal are in for Kerry Dixon. And you're like, he's like, it's only 3 games. Now, if you do that for Leicester, which he was playing for, all just Leicester fans, they care, but the big media doesn't care. Gyökeres doing it for Sporting Lisbon, no one really notices or cares. You do it for Arsenal, and then they dropped Charlie Nicholas. I played up front with Smudge. He got a hat-trick against Portsmouth at home, and then went on to be one of Arsenal's great. So I saved Alan Smith's career every time I say but he went on to be one of Arsenal's all-time great centre-forwards. Yeah. But even then, as he said, the scrutiny is unreal. But now I think with Gyökeres, because he's got his brace, it will just, you can tell that you feel tense. Whether if your fans are getting on your back, you're getting, now with social media, all the players do read the social media, or their people read the social media. And when it's not flowing, you could tell that he was just tense.
You're overthinking.
And exactly. And then through your head, you're not playing naturally. Now I just think he's starting to play like he was playing for Sporting Lisbon. Do you know what I mean? And he will start to be more demanding. He's got 100%. He's got the respect of the players and the manager because Arteta always says he's working his socks off in training, got a good attitude. So the players will want you to do well.
Declan Rice said that as well. Yeah. So, he's always had his teammates' trust. And one thing that I think Gyökeres has never been given his credit, he works his socks off. Like, he's always done all the other facets of what Mikel Arteta's wanted. So, naturally, it's all filled into place. Confidence is key for any footballer, much less a striker. I did feel sorry for Gyökeres because, as Perry mentioned, the social media, the Arsenal scrutiny. I do think people are a bit naive and ignorant when it comes to Gyökeres. Granted, he hasn't got the prettiest of playing style, but we've needed someone to just put the ball in the back of the net. And I like his ugly finishes because that's something that's going to be our bread and butter, especially going into the tail end of the season. So shout out Gyökeres.
He's never, ever going to be someone who comes in, like Havertz, who links it up, who gets it, and he's got a really soft touch, and he lays it off, and he spins, and he sees the pass. That's not him. And I don't care. I've said before, I don't give a rat's backside if he don't score from now to the end of the season, and we win the Premier League or the Champions League or both. Who cares? Nobody cares.
It's all about, the Winter Olympics is on at the moment, of course, and it's like Olympic cycle, you know what I mean? If Gyökeres finds his form now in the business end of the season, who cares what happened earlier on? No. We're top of the league, 6 points clear.
Where he finished.
Exactly.
I'll tell you one thing I thought we changed really well on Saturday against Sunderland as well is, I don't think in this season we've been shooting enough from distance. We haven't been shooting enough from like 20, 25, because teams do sit deep. Obviously, we go wide, we come back in, we go wide. We're trying to look for the intricate passes.
Gaps.
If you think about in the first half on Saturday, Declan Rice had a curler, like missed by an inch. Kai Havertz had a curler missed by an inch. And then Zubimendi scores. So I think they've been working on, we're going to start shooting from distance. And then what happens then, if you do, then in the opposition's mind, I think, we've got to come close down, and then you can start playing your little passes. Because you look at the technical players that we have, we've got very good technical players. So we should be shooting more from distance.
And they've got the ability and the competence to do it. How many times have we seen long-range efforts go in this season? We've seen it a couple of times. So especially when it comes down to breaking low blocks and being a bit unpredictable, could only be helpful going into the end of the season.
You know what as well? The crowd get excited.
Yeah, of course.
The crowd, what is there's instead of being, and it can get quiet and a bit sort of anxious, the crowd then go, and it raises everybody.
And it gasses you as a player.
Sure. Yeah. Just talking about, goals from outside the box, having said what you just said there, Perry, Arsenal scored 8 from outside the box this season. Only Villa and Bournemouth, both on 11, have scored more, which is surprising. But Arteta was asked in his press conference, wasn't he, about goals from outside the box? Because I think there's a stat floating around again where it's one of the lowest ever in the Premier League because, everyone's trying to walk it in now. But we saw Manchester United scored 2 bangers against us from outside the box. So, there is a profit or, a good reason to be shooting from outside the box because everybody's really good at organised in defence at the back now. If you can shoot from outside the box, you can profit from it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Provoques chaos.
Yeah.
And the ball moves now. Yeah. And the player's technique now, you either bend it with the outside of your foot when I was playing or with the instep, or now they go for the valve or whatever it is, and they put their foot through the ball, and it actually moves both ways. When I played, the old the Adidas Tango, which is the best ball ever, by the way, that just bent one way or it bent the other. This one actually can move and bend at the last minute, can't it? So, as you saw with Szoboszlai's free kick.
Yeah. Great example.
I mean, we'll get on to that. We are, of course, going to talk about, what happened up at Anfield. I wanted to talk about Martin Zubimendi because, you've mentioned him already, Perry. I feel like under the radar might be a bit harsh, but I feel like, his signing didn't get celebrated as much as, say, Victor Gyökeres. And I get the reasons why, because Victor Gyökeres is number 9, etc., etc. And Zubimendi, kind of everyone knew it was happening before it happened. But since he's come in, he's scored 6 goals in 34 appearances for Arsenal across all competitions. And that's as many as his final 2 seasons at Real Sociedad combined. So something's happened since he's come in where he's found his scoring boots, and I'm so here for it.
Yeah, I think what it is, it's just the way that he seamlessly just gone into that holding midfield player position. Do you know what I mean? And what he does is, when Thomas Partey was at his best, he was unreal. Do you know what I mean? Because he was physical, he could pass it through lines, play right. And again, you're looking at that holding midfield player. But actually, Zubimendi is a level up because he passes it, he sees it. He's not the physicality, but he doesn't need to because he reads the game so well. If you watch him, he's got so many times where he might just, like Declan Rice does, he might just have the Inspector Gadget leg where he just gets a little toe in or he gets round or he knocks the player off balance. But then what he does is, if you see him, he's always looking to go forward. It might only be 10, 20 yards, but that's his first look, to go into the forward or go into the wide men. So the goals, I must admit, the goals are a massive bonus. Do you know what I mean? Because even if he hadn't scored his goals, Arsenal fans would see him going, wow, what a player he is. What was he, 60, 65 million, whatever? And the other thing is, he's won for Spain. There's a winning in him, there's that winning mentality where things going on around him. When he came on in the Euros final for Rodri, there was no drop-off. Do you know what I mean? And he's like, don't worry, I'm here. I call him like the Mr. Wolf. I'll solve all your problems. It's right. It's no problem, innit? I'll just solve your problem. We'll be all right. Yeah. So yeah, it's just been the recruitment's has been very good.
Yeah, no adjustment period as well. You know, you often hear this kind of narrative of like, oh, well, players need time, don't they? If they're coming from the Spanish league or whatever, they need time. But Zubimendi has come straight in let's be honest, in a difficult position to play, I think, because as we saw against Manchester United, if you make a mistake in that position, often it can be fatal. Zubimendi's just come in and he's doing his business.
Nick, you said it there, he's been doing his business. Obviously, you know, you mentioned Man United. I think he did that against Spurs. That's just something for him to learn. But I always think if you're an Arsenal player, you must love playing for him. He relieves pressure. He's always available for the pass. As Perry said, he's always trying to progress it. Because he's always smiling and he's not the biggest and most physical midfielder, I don't think people give him his credit for how much he wants to get stuck into that side of the game. Similar to Declan Rice, Mikel Arteta's getting even more out of him. Goals, assists. I think he's a complete midfielder in the making, and, you know, I genuinely think he's one of the best sixes in the world, and you could see why there's been a pursuit and a clamour for him. As you said, Nick, the saddest thing with Zubimendi is we knew it was happening for a while. We was chasing it for a couple of years. I guess he's, on paper, I don't think he's the sexiest kind of footballer for fans to get excited about, but he's a thinker's man's footballer. His footballing IQ is of a different ilk, and I actually don't think we've seen the best of him yet. I think next season, whatever you think you like about Zubimendi, it's going to go up the gears. As an Arsenal fan, I'm proud for him, and a pleasure to have him.
It'll be a big, great quiz, wouldn't there? The best players were called Martin. Seriously.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, yeah.
We've got both of them playing for us. Martin Hayes, my old ex-teammate.
I'm trying to think.
There you go, see?
Yeah.
I'll leave it with you.
Martin Keown.
There you go.
That'd be my one.
Sorted.
Yeah, how could I forget Martin Keown?
Can't forget him.
By the way, he'd have looked for you and found you if you forgot Martin Keown. Trust me.
Don't want him
a bit like Liam Neeson off, was it Taken? I would find you.
What's interesting about one of our other Martins, Zubimendi, just go back to him, is before he scored the goal, there was a tackle on him from Robbie, wasn't it? I think it was, and it was quite a bad tackle. Some Arsenal fans were saying that Robbie should have seen red for it, but it could have been very different for Zubimendi. He was quite lucky in that the tackle wasn't on a planted foot, for example, because that could have led to a serious injury. I mean, a couple of minutes later, he goes down the other end and scores.
Yeah, I think as well, when you're playing, you get a feeling, I think you ride it as well, do you know what I mean? So you make sure that you're off balance, because if you're balanced and your feet are planted, you're in banging trouble. I think what you do is you get a sense, and he sort of just went with it, do you know what I mean? So, but he's just a very, very intelligent footballer.
Do you think, CJ, the way Sunderland set up against us, because obviously Perry touched on it a little bit earlier on, just in terms of like so many teams are coming to Arsenal now and just low block, and then we're being called boring because we're scoring from set pieces or, you know, whatever. Sunderland didn't necessarily set up a low block. They were just organised and they pressed really well. But essentially, it was to their detriment because we won the game 3-0. So do you expect more low block as we go forward, or do you expect teams to maybe try and come out?
I mean, we've been dealing with low and deep and mid blocks for years now. This isn't something new this season, and it's only going to continue. And you're right, people call us boring. It feels like we're one of the only teams that want to play football. Credit to Sunderland, because they respected us where they should. They had a go in other kind of ilks. They pressed very well. I think in the first half, they were kind of getting through our midfield a bit too easily. And that's why I'm happy with Zubimendi's screamer, because I have kind of seen games like that at Arsenal, and you're hoping for a bit of magic. We obviously saw that. Second half, the floodgates kind of open, tired legs, the game state's a bit different. It's not the same, but it was almost identical to against Leeds. I think there's a bigger conversation to have against football. Like, how many entertaining football games do you see? It's all low blocks and mid blocks and like chess matches between managers, and everyone's trying to do throw-ins. Everyone's trying to take advantage of dead ball scenarios. So I know the media will focus on like it being an Arsenal thing, but it's a wider thing in football, definitely in this country. Look at all our games in the Champions League. There's a reason that would probably be a bit more entertaining for Arsenal fans than in the Prem. So I think, people won't be kind and it will all be about Arsenal, but it's definitely just something in the wider game. It's where we're at the moment.
Do you know what I said about David Raya having a bit of sort of bar of soap moment? Mm-hmm. But he pulled off a big save in the second half. When we were 1-0 up and Talby cuts in, he has a brilliant save low down to his left-hand side. So we've got, which I think, one of the best goalkeepers in the world, but I don't want to put a jinx on it because now he'd probably throw one in against Brentford. But he pulls off big saves at big time, do you know what I mean? So sometimes that just gets forgotten about a little bit, because, again, if they go 1-1, then it gets really nervy.
Different game.
Exactly, yeah. So he pulled off a big save against Talby.
Shout out.
Right, I know this is inside Gooners, but we do need to talk about what happened at Anfield. You know, when I found out that I was doing this show and Liverpool went 1-0 up, I was thinking this is going to be a completely different vibe and show compared to what it is now, because obviously it did finish 2-1 to Manchester City. Big celebrations, Perry, and you can kind of understand why, because it's not... I know it's only 3 points and blah, 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 but it's like, it's what it can do for Manchester City, the springboard and the belief that comes from a result like that.
Yeah, massive. Psychologically, what it does for a player and the fans and Pep Guardiola gives Man City a massive lift, because Arsenal fans, all the neutrals have said if it's 9 points, the title is over. But Arsenal fans have been, no, we still got to chalk the games off. Do you know what I mean? So other fans can be relaxed about it, but Arsenal fans couldn't. But let's be honest, if it would have been 9, we'd have been... Oh, I'll tell you what, that gives us a proper buffer here. You know, we've got more space for a little bit of a wobble. I didn't think Man City played that well, to be honest. They played well first half. Second half, Liverpool were at them. And when they scored, you really couldn't see Man City get themselves back in it. But you have to give them credit, because they found a way. They dug it, like we did up at Newcastle. But our performance against Newcastle was good. But they found a way of getting themselves out of trouble, which they did. This Man City side hasn't got the aura of the previous title-winning Man City sides. They're in a real rebuild, and you can tell in games, Spurs reserves come back from 2-0 down and got to 2-2. That doesn't happen against Man City sides of old. Yeah. But the momentum shift from them and the belief that it will give them will be absolutely massive. Even though their performances haven't been pretty convincing, it's still they got that out of nothing. And everybody watching it, when it was 84 minutes Liverpool, as we spoke before, the worst ways out, you're looking at it thinking, well, they might nick a draw here. And then it's 8 points, and 8 points again gives you that little bit of calmness. But it's in our hands. So, again, beginning of the season, you just snapped your hands off, wouldn't you? Said you're 6 points clear of Man City.
In February as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
What about you, CJ? How are you feeling today? You know, we've had a little bit of time to, take stock and think about it. In the immediacy, I was absolutely gutted, but, still looking at it, we're still 6 points clear looking at the league table. And, to be, as Perry rightfully points out, to be in that position in February, at the start of the season, we'd have been well up for that.
You would have bit your arm off for it, man. Perry summed up everything, so there isn't much more I can add. All I would say is, obviously, when Szoboszlai scored, you are thinking, 9 points, I don't want to get complacent, but it's all right type of thing. Again, going into the weekend, we knew it was a 6 point gap. We've come out of that weekend in a 6 point gap. All we can do is control the controllables. I do think a lot of social media fans have taken the whole 9 points thing and thinking it's a reality. That was contingent on, obviously, Manchester City dropping points. The one thing